You haven't lived long enough on this planet to make a difference. They all want to go out and make a TikTok version of themselves. The goal is to go out and have people remember your existence on this planet, whether that's good or bad, right? They don't care. They just want people to remember that they were here. And so that is why they attack these low-hanging fruits going after schools or churches, because they want people to remember that they were here.
Okay, so what was your very first job you ever had?
First paying job?
What was your first non-paying job?
No, I'm just saying first job.
Yeah.
First paying job was pulling weeds.
Who paid you?
The trailer park.
So you lived in a trailer park?
I didn't live in a trailer park. I've never lived in a trailer park.
Okay.
Grandparents lived in a trailer park called Sky Valley.
But a lot of those trailer parks were nice.
No, Sky Valley is nice. Who knows now? It's fucking been almost 30 years since I've even seen Sky Valley. It was a nice retirement. It was a great place where my grandpa and grandma lived. But I would go there every summer. Mom would ship me there every summer. So probably when I was like 10, I was probably 10 when the park manager was like, "You want to make some money?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I'll give you $1.50 an hour if you go out there." They had as you drive in, it was probably 200 yards long, an embankment that they had eucalyptus trees on. And he was like, "Just pick the weeds." And so I'd go out there all day and pick weeds. That was the kind of first paying job. I think I don't think I did anything before that, really.
What about after that? What was your next job?
Value Land. The next real job would have been
Santee?
Value Land. In Santee, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had been held back a grade, so third grade I had been held back for reading, dyslexia. I was older than all my peers. So when I was a fucking freshman, I could get a car. And my mom was like, I was, because I was older, I could get a car a year earlier than everybody. And I think I got it my freshman year. So my mom was like, "You can have a car, but you have to buy it. And you have to pay for insurance." Well, the only way to do that is if you have a job, right? So I went to work at Value Land. Every day after school, I would go work, I think 5 hours is what I was getting working at Value Land. And it paid me just enough money to pay the insurance and have gas money. That's it. I didn't have any extra money. But it's a weird thing, because I just saw some kid yesterday he's 19 or he's 18, and he's talking to his friend in the grocery store. He's like, "Yeah, I'm not going to get my license till my birthday." I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? A car is the thing that decides what kind of freedom you can have or not have. I would have given up tons of shit just to have a car in high school.
We were having this conversation the other night on a live, and somebody said, "I bought my 21-year-old son a brand new F-250, and it's in the driveway. He will not get his driver's license." And I said, "How long has it been?" He said, 3 months. I said, "Sell the truck. That'll leave an impression on him."
I don't think if you're a parent out there and you're trying to create an environment for your child that is better than your childhood, if you buy them a car, you're doing them a disservice. Do not buy your kids a vehicle. Make them go earn the money to buy the vehicle, to pay for the insurance. Make them do that. That's going to create a lifelong work habit based around that want. And if maybe your kid is, I don't know, maybe the kids are different now and they just need PlayStations. Make them buy the PlayStation. And what you're going to do is you're going to create this thing. Like even today, John will tell you, I've had, I don't know, 20 cars and trucks over my lifetime. I still think of the Datsun B210 as the best car I've ever owned. Like I still have this idea in my head that was the best car I've ever owned. It's because I had to buy and pay for it and maintain it and do all the things necessary to keep it running. I don't know what's wrong with kids today. I don't know why they don't want the freedom of a vehicle. Maybe because parents Because I did it too. Maybe because parents are too easily driving them and getting them to where they need to go and all that. Like if I wanted to go to baseball practice, I had to drive.
I don't think that's what it is. We used to go to find girls or to see girls, right? The vehicle opened that up. We could now see a girl that lived 5-10 miles away, or a girl that rode the bus to school. We could now go see her, or we could meet at University Town Center.
I feel like that was a...
And now they just talk on the phone. They don't even care to actually even meet the girl. There's kids running around with girlfriends that they've never even seen in real life.
I feel like for me that was a side quest. That was a side quest.
Yeah,
I don't feel like that was the... me and Donald Hanson, who was my best friend in high school, we spent more time just driving around. Like we would spend hours and hours just driving around.
Ours was how far. So I had a BMX bike, and it was how far out in the canyon you could go on the BMX bike. And then the mountain bike, that was awesome because that was like a 10-speed, and it had gears, and you could go further, and have the gear reduction and everything up and down the hills. And then my friend Jason Charleboy, I think Jason, he got a Zuma 50 moped, and we could both ride. I could ride on the back of that, and we could go even further out in the canyon. And then it was dirt bikes. Jason or Chris Horner rides for, last I heard, he rode Team Gillette. Like he rides the Tour de France every year. If you're a 10-speed fag, like you definitely know who Chris Horner is. And he got an 85 big wheel dirt bike, and that was my first introduction to motorcycles. And then my buddy Matt Chartel, Matt and his brothers had dirt bikes. So I got a 250 XL 250, and I was able to just ride. And I never came home then. I would just ride as far as I could, and I would put gasoline in mason jars because there was no gas can. Like I didn't have, so I had glass jars full of gasoline in my backpack wrapped in beach towels, so that when the bike would run out of gas, I could put gas and come home, and still a lot of times ran short and had to push the motorcycle home. Yeah,
that was my brother. My brother bought a Suzuki, I think it was a 350. And then we definitely had a 350 Honda three-wheeler. And my brother had bought those bikes, my brother's 8 years older than I am. And he fell into I feel like sorry, Craig, but I feel like I had a much better childhood than you, because he fell into the trap that we fall into as adults, right? We buy this thing. We buy this thing for the fun of the thing, whether it's a boat, a motorcycle, or whatever. We buy this thing for the fun of the thing, and then life gets in the way, and you're working all the time, and you never... So my brother had bought these two motorcycles, and I guarantee you, me and Donald put way more time and energy in the bikes than my brother ever did, because he just, again, not because I'm sure he wanted to, because it was, at that time, it was cool to go down to the sand pits and ride your three-wheeler, and you can't do any of that shit now in Santee. And me and Donald would be up at Boot Mountain. Every chance we get, we'd be on those bikes, just fucking like, I don't think, again, I'm not a kid, so I don't know. I just have to observe from the outside world. I don't think kids understand how much fun they could actually be having.
No.
Or I don't know because we live in such a mommy state now. Because they're in this thing. They don't actually want to go. They just want to look at the stuff. They don't actually want to go do it. But I also think because we're in such a mommy state now, I don't know if they even could, right? Because my mom would be like, sometimes we would leave on a Friday. Now, Mom worked 2 jobs to support the family.
So I was just saying, Mom had 3 jobs.
Yeah. And sometimes we would leave on a Friday and not come back till Sunday. Like, just go. We were out, we were either in the sand pits or up at Boot Rock. We were playing war all the time. But that started in elementary school. Like, It started in elementary school. And as long as everybody came home with 10 fingers and 10 toes, my mom's like, all right, It's good to go.
So when you were in Santee, you could see Mount Fortuna, Titty Mountain.
Can I see Mount Fortuna? I don't know if I could.
Because the sand pits were basically on the other side of Mount Fortuna when you got into Santee there.
I don't know if, because I was right up against, so literally right up against the hill. So we were right up against the hill. It was a great neighborhood. It was about well, I walked to Rio Seco because Mom had to work, so I had to walk to school, to elementary school. And the sand pits were only, they were on the other side of Rio Seco, right? Rio Seco was technically built in the sand pits, kind of. It was about like a 45-minute walk to the sand pits, and we would go all the time. Like, again, elementary school. I should bust out some of the pictures, but elementary school, we would patrol from my house through the neighborhood, like through people's yards and shit, to the sand pits to go have war against the ROTC kids from high school. That's how I met Leo. And the beautiful thing about Santee at that time was it was a semi-young neighborhood. So there was kids there. There's no kids there anymore. Not in the area where we lived. So it was a pretty young neighborhood, but it was full of Vietnam vets. And so we would be, with our plastic guns and camis that didn't fit, patrolling through the neighborhood, and every now and then a fucking garage door would open, and there'd be a creepy old guy in the garage. He'd be like, "Hey, come here. And this was the 80s. This is the 80s, so we'd be like, what you got? He'd be like, "I wore this helmet in Vietnam. Here you go." And then we would have a helmet. Like,
how fucking awesome is
it was
that
awesome.
Now?
It was fucking awesome.
And like, we didn't even know then how
it was
cool
awesome.
that was.
It was so cool that all, these grumpy old men would just be like, "You need a helmet." Or you need, like, they would give us these boots and we'd have to stuff newspaper in the toes because they'd be too big. I mean, I really should bust out some of the pictures, because by the time I went to elementary school, so by the time I got, or not elementary school, by the time I got to high school, so when I was in 11th grade, I promise you, the 12 kids that followed me around doing this army shit, I got to bust the picture of us in the front yard. I had better kit than the Marine Corps had at that time. Like, we had good kit. Like, we were like kitted out. As a matter of fact, some of the stuff that I had just collected as a youth, I used for 8 years in the Marine Corps. Like, they're like, "Hey, you need this." I'd be like, "Already got one." Mine's better.
They seem to be back to letting guys use their own gear now.
I mean,
like, they were cracking down on it, even when we were in Oceanside. Like, they were kind of giving dudes shit, but once you're on deployment, it kind of went out the window. But
they're back on it again.
So I had guys on the live a couple weeks ago and pop up different nights, and they're like, "Hey, I'm looking at this chest rig. I'm going on deployment." I'm like, "They're not going to let you wear it." He's like, "We can use it in my unit. We can wear this shit. We can wear whatever we want." So I've heard that several times, and I just found that kind of interesting.
There's a different, which is good and it's bad in some ways. There's a different attitude. There's a different attitude towards deployed and stateside.
Where are we deploying where guys are going to wear these chest rigs and actually, like, we're not in combat anywhere right now?
Yeah, but that don't matter. Like, I mean, the whole time we were doing saltwater crocodile patrols in Singapore, and then Singapore, Kuwait. Well, I guess that would be that whole Westpac deployment. I wore the patrol rig that nobody was going to say anything to me. I even so at SOTG, they bought everybody point blank vests. So they bought everybody point blank vests, concealed carry ones. I mean, they're not really concealed carry anymore, but they were top of the line back then when they bought them. They bought them for the instructors to walk on the catwalks. And we were still using the fold over Kevlar vests that were just for shrapnel. we didn't have the good vests yet.
The woodland ones.
Yeah, and so that was that deployment. I got a damn. You remember the chocolate chip tire covers, the chocolate chip pack covers? I got one of those. I cut it up. Man, I can't imagine how much that would be worth today. I cut it up.
The tire cover?
Yeah, I cut the tire cover up, and I hand sewed the tire cover all the way around this point blank, because the point blank vest was black. I hand sewed it all the way around it, and then wore that under my rig, and everybody's like, "Oh man, you're gonna get in so much trouble." I'm not gonna get in trouble. Nobody's gonna give a shit. Nobody's gonna care because we're overseas. And so I wore that the whole time. Nobody said anything to me, even though you could tell it was different because it was flat up front versus, because everybody was putting those chocolate chip covers on that old body armor. I wore that the whole time, and then that's the same deployment where I got handguards. I got extra handguards for all my guys. And then I met some I can't remember who it was, but it was some kid in Oceanside who was painting. He wasn't Cerakote yet. He was just painting, but he was doing camouflage patterns. And I'm like, "Hey, can you do chocolate chip?" He's like, "I can't do chocolate chip, but I can do woodland, and I can do the fuck out of 3-color desert."
Yeah.
And so I'm like, "Here's handguards. Paint them." And so he painted handguards for, he painted 3-color handguards, and then he painted woodland handguards. And all my guys, again, I'm like, "Here you go. Here you go. Put them on your rifles." And they put them on their rifles. And nobody at battalion level. So we didn't have no problem at battalion level. Battalion level, they were just like, "Whatever, snipers. You know, I told them, I go, "Just tell them you're with snipers and that you have the original handguards." Because I said, "Take your handguards off." We piled them all up and then put these handguards on, even though they came from the same place. So I'm like, "Here, paint these, carry these around." And then one of my kids, it was the kid that was with me at, one of my guys anyways, ends up having to go to the rear. And when he goes to the rear, he's in the rear echelon for a little while, and then he comes back and he's like, "Man, this lieutenant chewed my ass out for like an hour about these handguards." And he just didn't understand that I didn't paint my handguards. And I'm like, "It don't matter. Nobody's going to say it. Don't worry about it." I go, "Next time, just quote the camouflage man." Because a lot of times in the Marine Corps in general, like we talk about haircuts, or we talk about, gear and equipment, they're talking from a perspective of, I'm in charge, and so what I say matters, even though they don't understand the actual orders, right? They don't understand the actual orders. And the actual orders, I can paint my rifle. It's when that rifle goes back in to be inventoried. So when I take the rifle and I put it back in there, it's back in the day anyways, it's a little bit different now, but when I would turn my rifle, and it had to be in the condition that I received it. So you would have to clean all the paint off. So if I...
Can you clean the paint off without getting the finish off?
Yeah, you can.
With Krylon you can and stuff, but the handguards, the solution was I didn't have to clean them off. I just swapped them out, right? And if I could have got buttstocks, I would have had to do buttstocks too. But that's just kind of the thing about, sometimes there's things that you can get away with that you don't understand how you got away with it, and then other times you're like, what the fuck? Like we had, again, Kuwait, Huey. Now, again, modern Marines will not understand this. They won't understand this. They will not understand this. Huey flying overhead. We're in the stay platoon. We're in the middle of fucking nowhere. Like, it's just stay platoon in the desert. Just doing stay platoon shit. There's nobody else around us. And this Huey is fucking flying in circles around us. And it comes in and it lands. And it's a fucking colonel. And he gets off the helicopter and comes and chews our ass out because everyone's wearing the Oakleys. But the original, those like big fucking Oakleys, like we're wearing Oakleys because
We're in the fucking desert. So we all have the black tinted Oakleys in the desert, and we're wearing these Oakleys. And he chews our fucking ass out because, again, at that time, you know, this is pre-Iraq, guys. This is pre we worry about our troops' safety. You couldn't wear glasses on your face in uniform. So sunglasses in uniform was a no-no. So we were wearing unauthorized eye protection. We were wearing unauthorized eyewear. And so he came and chewed our asses about it.
From a helicopter.
Yeah, he landed just to chew our ass about these glasses. And then he flew away. You know, everybody had to take them off. And then our platoon sergeant at the time was like, it's the dumbest. Put those glasses back on. Put those glasses back on.
Was this on Pendleton?
No, this was in Kuwait.
Kuwait.
This is deployed, forward deployed, ready to go into combat. Yeah, there was a time, young Marines, when you were not authorized safety glasses. Not at all. Even and this goes back. The Rangers had those. You remember those green tinted, the Terminator glasses? The Rangers had these green tinted Terminator glasses that were issued to them. They were supposedly They were supposedly colored to stop injury from lasers. You know, from any IR laser source. But also they were issuing to them in the jungle phase and the mountain phase, I believe, just because they're doing so much patrolling at night and dudes are getting hit in the face with sticks or hitting the eyes with sticks. So that was an issued piece of gear, but we still, Marines, they're like, you still can't wear these motherfuckers. So, and then, you know, come full circle, we get to 20 years of Afghanistan and Iraq, and it became to the point where you couldn't maneuver, you couldn't move anywhere outside of the wire without safety, you know, without some sort of eye protection. We first got, when 1-7, when I had, 3rd Platoon Baker Company, was it 3rd Platoon? Was it 2nd Platoon? I don't remember. But when we got to Iraq, so we're going to do our deployment, we're doing all the pre-deployment shit, and we get to Iraq, and we're at Al-Assad, and we're going to leave Al-Assad and go out to no man's land, and everybody, the whole battalion is in fucking trucks. Like, the whole battalion's in trucks, and this fucking gunny comes running out. He's like, oh my god, he's like freaking out. He's like, what are you doing? Where are you going? We're like, we're going to war, bro. What's up? He's like, you can't leave the base without safety glasses. And I'm like, what do you mean we can't leave the base without safety glasses? They don't issue safety glasses. And he's like, yeah. You can't leave the base. It's an Iraq Almar or whatever the fuck they wanted to call it back then. You can't leave without safety glasses. And I'm like, we ain't got no safety glasses. Are you going to go tell the battalion commander that we're not, are you going to go tell the battalion commander that we're relieving and then the battalion commander here that we can't leave this fob because we don't have safety glasses? I think he's going to tell you to fuck off. And he's like, no, it's just, you got to have safety glasses. It's like, how many guys are in this truck? And I'm like, there's 35 dudes in this truck. And he's like, okay, just give me a minute. And so he ran somewhere and came back with like a grocery sack of fucking, who were we using? ESS, I think. ESS or...
Wiley X.
Wiley X. It was Wiley X's. He came with this grocery sack of brand new Wiley X's, and I'm like, this was the first time I saw GWAP money. Like, this is the first time I saw, because he's like, everybody's got to have them. And they were in the hard cases, and they had 3 lenses, and I'm like, oh, yeah. Shit. You ain't going to make a sign for these?
Like those M-frame shooter
kits. He's like,
a clear, a white, and a yellow.
I go, what do I got to, he's like, you ain't got to sign for these? That's safety equipment. You got to have it. And I'm like, oh, shit. Let me get 2 pair.
What else you got? The safety equipment.
Yeah, I go, let me get 2 pair, brother. What you got over there? What else you got? So, yeah, we all got Wiley X's, and we're the last truck. And it doesn't matter if it's a piece of issued gear or not. You never want to be the group that gets it first. Because if it's approved, if you're the group that gets it first and it's approved, everybody's going to try and steal it. If it's officially approved, meaning the whole chain of command knows about this piece of gear, like, the example is when the Marine Corps first got Gore-Tex. Well, Gore-Tex was expensive. Back in the day, so this is back in the 90s, Gore-Tex was expensive, and so it was on a needs basis issue. And so they would only issue it to the boat guys. So the boat company would have these Gore-Tex jackets. Well, you know who wants Gore-Tex jackets more than boat company? Motherfucking snipers. Snipers want Gore-Tex jackets. And so we would go, this was back when you didn't have SIF kids. You guys don't understand what a gangster organization the Marine Corps used to be. It used to be cool. It's not now. You're just Army light. That's all. But it used to be Marines working in supply. You had a supply, and the Marines issued you out all your shit. And so we had this little kid in there who was he was a supply ninja. I wish I could remember his name right now. But he was a supply ninja. He was out of shape, out of weight, but he knew his job so good that the command wouldn't fuck with him. And when we got a new first sergeant, when H&S Company got a new first sergeant, and that new first sergeant did his little, let me see who everybody's at, and then he would see him down in supply, he'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna fuck you up, kid. I'm gonna fuck you up." And that kid would just be like, "Whatever, first sergeant. Whatever, you can fuck me up. All right, whatever." And then within a day, the battalion commander would be like, "You ain't touching him. Don't get near him. Don't look at him. Don't fart. Don't nothing. You stay away from him." Because it wasn't some sort of peer pressure, but he knew the system so well that we were always passing our inspections. We always had the gear we needed. He just knew the system so well. And sometimes and I think the Marine Corps has forgotten about that. Sometimes that's more important than whether or not someone gets a 300 PFT. Because we have plenty of people in the Marine Corps that can get a 300 PFT that don't know that there are 5 gallons of water in a 5-gallon water jug. So sometimes, knowing your job is more important. But again, this is the drawback of that. We knew how to bribe him. We knew how to bribe that kid, so we would secretly be getting Gore-Tex jackets. And you would have to, it was one of those things where you'd only bust it out in the field and shit. You'd be in your Gore-Tex jacket, and every now and then one of us would inclement weather day, you'd be like, "I'm going to go to the PX." And you put your Gore-Tex jacket on and go to the PX. And boat company at that time had a gunnery sergeant, awesome gunnery sergeant. Again, I'm sure that the Marines and boat company hated him. Gunny Petey was his name. But as far as Marine gunnery sergeants go, he was the type of character that you would want to be your gunnery sergeant. You want him to be your gunny. Because he was just a character. And you'd be walking across the parade deck, and you'd just see his head pop out of they had these up windows at the company office, and he'd look out there and he'd see you, and he'd be like, "Hey, Marine, where the fuck you get that jacket?" And he would come running out of the CP, and he would chase you all around the battalion area. You'd be running through barracks and shit, and jumping over bunks, and Gunny Petey would be in hot pursuit. And he never caught anybody. But Gunny, I'm not saying Gunny Petey wasn't in shape, because Gunny Petey was in shape.
Well, that's why he's in shape.
He never caught anybody. And the crazy thing is, battalions are big, but they're not that big. Everybody knows everybody for sure, right? So, I am sure, just like walking to the chow hall, seeing Gunny Petey sneak out and get in his launch position to fucking chase me down, I completely recognize that's Gunny Petey. I know he's that's that motherfucker's in Stapleton. But it was one of those things where Gunny Petey was the guy who was going after us for the Gore-Tex jackets, but it wasn't one of those things where the battalion was like, "All right, hey, we're going to have a fucking wall locker inspection, and we're going to find all these Gore-Tex." It was kind of one of those unwritten rules where they were, the Marine Corps used to be mission accomplished above all else. And so they used to be just mission accomplishment is the thing that mattered. And unit commanders wouldn't care how the mission was accomplished. And so if we had to conduct a mission that was 50 miles inland, and the battalion's just "All right, you got to do this thing, and you got to get there." And then we're like, Okay, all right. What we're gonna do is we're gonna get all our shit. We're gonna get on a 305 bus. We're gonna take that across town. Then we're gonna have Johnny pick us up in his pickup truck and drive us out there, drop us off, and then we're gonna conduct a mission. And then somehow we ended up. There was a period of time. There was a small period of time in my Marine Corps career where it was somehow Stay Platoon ended up in all these places around the world. Ended up there, and ended up back in the battalion FOBs, and the 3 shop had no idea how we did it. Like, they would be like, I don't even know how they got out there. What'd you guys do? Steal a helicopter? Like, it was that point where there was a point in time in my career where it was us against them, and they hated us because we were the sniper platoon. We hated them because they wouldn't support the platoon, but we were going to accomplish the mission basically to say fuck you. Like, there was guys in the Marine Corps I don't want to say truly a lot of guys, but there were people that would undermine your ability to accomplish the mission to try and make you look bad, and then the fucking shit would get done, and they'd be like, we know you did something illegal, but we didn't support you, so that's kind of just as illegal. You know, it was a weird time. It was a weird time, and then we got in a time period where everybody loved snipers, and then again it went back around and everybody hated snipers.
We're mad you got it done because you didn't use us to get it done.
This is true. Like, I literally had a battalion commander, a deployment where a battalion commander called me in, and he was like, you guys did this, the deployment was over. And they were like, I can't believe how great things you guys did. The platoon did fucking awesome. You guys fucking succeeded in all these missions, blah, blah, blah. And the 3 is there with the XO. And he's saying all this shit. And at the same, I can't believe he said it. At the same time, the 3's like, yeah, I don't know how they did it either because we didn't support him at all. It was just one of those things where you would just do what you had to do to get through. Anyway, so yeah, it was a crazy time. So I mean, the Marine Corps from 1988 probably till when was the Kuwait trip where they? Probably 2000. No, it'd have been 90. Late 90s, sometime in the late 90s. I can't remember what deployment was that, but there was a point where the Marine Corps was just it. We trained very hard. Not necessarily smart, but we trained very hard, and then they partied really hard. Like, it would be nothing to see the fucking company commander or the company gunny or, the even the battalion commander having a good time. Like, we're gonna train real hard. We're gonna spend all this time out in the bush, and then we're gonna come in and we're gonna fucking party hard, to the point where they were, they would sponsor parties. So a lot different. And then I don't want to say we didn't go woke, but we went zero tolerance. So the Marine Corps went zero tolerance. And when the Marine Corps went zero tolerance, it killed the spirit of what it meant to be a Marine. Like, there was a lot of small unit camaraderie, because that's just the way things happen if you have to spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with guys. But it became this us versus them mentality. So, the leadership against the enlisted and the enlisted against the leadership, which was a little decisive. And then the war broke out. Then 9/11 happened and things changed again. But the problem was you still had that residual taste of what was going on. In the good years of the war, I think things became better as far as the relationships that people had within the different rank structures. But then it started to sour again at the end. So
what do you mean?
It's just interesting.
What do you mean the good years of the war?
Meaning once, I know nobody wants to hear this.
When it was good for you. Us?
No.
Because we were winning, or good because...
People don't want to hear this. People don't want to hear this, and there's probably some individuals out there that are going to disagree with me, but whatever.
Fuck them.
You can disagree. Is nobody wants to be on a football team. Nobody wants to be on a football team that just practices. Nobody wants to be on a football team that just practices. We want to be on the football team that gets to play in the big game. And that was the big game. And I think, the Marine Corps, not dogging any other services, but out of all the services, I think the Marine Corps is the one that's on the tightest leash. The Marine Corps has got that tight leash. We tend to rile up our Marines a little more about combat than I think the other services do, because we do lock ourselves into history and tradition, and so we're on that tight leash, and we want to be let off the leash. And so there's a point where you get let off the leash, and Marines do what Marines do, and because they're doing what they do, officers tend to be like, holy shit, am I in charge of that fucking wild bunch of maniacs? And so there's this like a little bit of respect because they're doing the things that they want them to do. But then what ends up happening is you have this period of time. You have this period of time in modern military where they take the leash off, right? They take the leash off and they're like, do the thing that you do. And the Marines do the thing that they do, and they're winning always. We always win. And then they start getting political. Then the officer corps starts getting political, and they start nitpicking at things that are not conducive with warfare, period. They're too worried about their political careers and not worried about the outcome of what we're there for. Like, again, I understand a lot of this, but the Marine Corps, the Army, the Air Force, even Space Force, none of them should be let loose in the world unless the goal is to win. If the goal is to stabilize and continue this so people can become rich, fuck that. You know what? I will go back to the fact that I do not believe that U.S. forces should be used outside of a declaration of war, period.
Well, didn't they just rechange the name from Department of Defense to Department of War? Didn't that happen yesterday?
I don't think so. But maybe. I don't know. I didn't see anything about it. But either way.
That was the big speculation that's what's coming.
I don't think I think that Congress should have to get off their fat, lazy asses and do their jobs.
Well, I think we should hang members of Congress.
I don't know about hang them. I mean, we should just get rid of them.
You should fucking hang some of them.
But I think they should get off their fat, lazy asses and do their job. And if they cannot commit to vote on whether or not we should declare war, and allow the military to do what the military does, that's kill every motherfucker until the last person bends a knee. That's the way it should be. Sorry. That might not be politically correct. And you might be like, oh, civilians shouldn't get killed. Civilians are part of the problem. They are part of the problem. They're the ones that have allowed their country to get to the place where it is. Now, if we talk about what I just said, remember, the Congress declaring war, then all these places that we've been into, I don't know, 90% of them we'd have never gone.
So how is that different than Gaza?
What do you mean?
Well, what Israel's doing over in the Gaza Strip right now to the Palestinians with all that going on, if civilians are part of the problem...
They're part of the problem.
You believe that?
Yeah, they're part of the problem.
I don't disagree.
Hamas cannot exist. Hamas cannot exist.
Yeah, what do they say? It's less than 1%?
Yeah, but Hamas cannot exist as an entity or as an organization without the support of the people. Now, it may not be direct support, meaning, a lot of people go through their, for example, the last 20 years were Americans supporting U.S. troops overseas. Was an average American supporting U.S. troops overseas? No. Right? The reality is no. When you think about anybody
I think the average U.S. American that the Americans did, especially more so than Vietnam.
No, they're not. Support is different. Support is how many people were sending packages, how many people. It's a rare number that is connected to service in general, meaning it's service members' families that are supporting the troops overseas.
Okay.
But for example, right now, if Marines are in conflict somewhere in the world, let's say the 22nd MU gets in a fight in Venezuela. Am I supporting that action? Not really. I'm not doing anything to support that action.
Do you want to?
I mean, I'd like to go, guys. But what I'm saying is, and that's kind of the same thing, even though that 1%, like example is, even though that 1% is controlling the country, some people are actively supporting, there's still a group that are actively supporting Hamas, not in combat operations, but actively supporting Hamas in political agendas and things like that. And then there's other Palestinians who are just there, right? They're there and they're trapped in that world. But again, that's war. You have to bend a knee.
How many do you think are left right now?
Oh, there's a lot left. There's a lot left.
So they've just pushed a couple miles back. Is that what that is?
No. As far as Palestine is concerned, Israel controls it all. Israel controls it all. There's not.
So where are the terrorists now?
You said the magic word. Where are the terrorists? The terrorists are amongst the people, right? So you from just an Israeli point of view and perspective, everyone on the other side of the wire is a potential enemy, right? That's a hard, contrary to liberal ideas, that's a hard pill to swallow. That's a hard thing to reconcile with when you don't know who the enemy is or who the enemy is and who the non-combatants are. Okay? The Hamas has chosen to do that. And because Hamas has chosen to hide amongst civilians, civilian casualties have to be accepted. They have to be accepted that there are a certain amount of civilians that are going to get killed because Hamas will not put on uniforms and meet the Israelis on the battlefield like a real army. So civilians are going to get killed. Now, those civilians could do something about it. They could do something about it. They could notify Israeli forces where the Hamas fighters are. They could take matters into their own hands and go whip some motherfucking ass. Tell them to get out of our basement. We don't want a bomb dropped on our house. There's things that they could do. They're not doing them. Or I don't want to say they're not doing them because, I know Israeli has a fucking hotline and I am sure that there are Palestinians that are using that hotline. But again, a certain amount of civilian casualties have to be accepted in war. That's just part of warfare. Anybody who thinks that we're going to shoot a bomb through a window, kill the perfect bad guy, and then it's over is a retard. That's not how any of it works. You have to put boots on the ground. You have to hold ground. You have to ensure that country is willing to bend a knee. Otherwise, all you're doing is kicking the problem down the road. You're just kicking the problem down the road.
So what do you think's going on in Venezuela right now?
Nothing.
So why do we have all those ships over there?
Because we're trying to get. Trump is.
Are we trying to?
Most people don't understand. Trump is anti-war, so Trump is anti-war. What we're trying to do is force regime change, without conducting military operations within the country of Venezuela. That's why they did the $50 million bounty. That's why they did the $50 million. Hey, turn Maduro in and we'll fucking help you out. Because again, what we want Maduro to be worried about everybody in his inner circle. They probably should kick it up to $100 million.
But they're never going to pay that. They're just going to give...
That's not true. We paid, contrary to... That's what I thought too. I'm like, man, who are they going to pay that shit to? But...
I just figured they'd give it to the new regime.
No, they'll pay. They will for credible information that leads to the outcome that we're looking for. We do pay. I didn't know this until recently, but it was a paid informant that led us to the location of Saddam Hussein. So we had put a bounty on his head. We threw a dollar amount out there. I don't remember what it was. But we threw a dollar amount on there, and one of his cousins turned him in. And we actually were like, here you go, bro. Here's some gold bars that we stole from your other cousin. So we do pay. And I think if one of his generals showed up in a fishing boat with him, we'd give that motherfucker all $50 million. Because that's the reality is that's when you think about it from a just a geopolitical idea, that's the cheapest way to do it. 50 million. Like if you think president of the United States of America, if you could get something done, if you could get we'll just call it what it is, regime change in Venezuela. If you could get regime change done in Venezuela for $50 million, we bought more toothbrushes. The U.S. taxpayers bought more toothbrushes to do regime change in Iraq than that $50 million. You know what I'm saying? So it's cheap.
What is it we really want in Venezuela?
I do believe that, again, Trump is very, if the liberals would pay attention, he is kind of very predictable. He's very predictable in the sense of if you give him a problem. So if you go, because this is actually what happened. Most people don't understand this is what happened in D.C. So let's rewind to when he first became president. When he first became president, someone went into somebody in the inner circle went, Memphis is off the shizzle. There's violent crime there every single day. People are getting killed. I guarantee you this is exactly the conversation what happened. Trump went, why aren't we doing anything about it? And they went, because we pulled the FBI out of Memphis. And so Trump went, send the FBI back to Memphis. And so they deployed FBI, more FBI agents, assets into Memphis. I don't know if it's working, but they deployed more assets.
Apparently it's working. In
Memphis. Okay? Washington, D.C., same thing happened. A 3-year-old little girl was killed. Trump was made aware of this 3-year-old little girl being killed. And he's like, why is this happening? And they're like, because crime is rampant in the District of Columbia. And so Trump's like, okay, let's send in the National Guard. Like, he's very predictable of what he does. They come in and they're like, hey, we lost over 100,000 people to fentanyl deaths. Where's it coming from? It's coming from Mexico. All right, let's do what we can do in Mexico to curtail the cartels from bringing this in. Where else is it coming from? Venezuela. Difference is we have diplomatic ties with Mexico. So it's in our best interest to work with Mexico to try and solve this problem without just sending fucking Delta Force and Rangers down there killing cartel members. It's in our best interest to fix this because we share a border with them. Venezuela, who gives a fuck? If Venezuela is using boats to bring illegal drugs into the United States, we don't share a border with them. Where
is Venezuela's oil going?
I don't know.
They're a big oil producer, right?
Well, okay, they have a lot of oil. I don't know. Part of Venezuela's problem is they weren't producing. They do have a lot of oil, but that's not their primary means of funds. It's the cartels.
So you saw we shot the boat yesterday?
Yeah, I mean,
so all the war YouTube guys are like, we blew up this ship. It's just a fast boat. Like, yeah. The Coast Guard shoots fast boats every fucking day from helicopters. Like, every motherfucking day, the Coast Guard, 50 cals a fucking fast boat.
You could say that you could honestly say that was
what'd they hit it with?
A waste of assets. I don't know.
Right, because it fucking vaporized it. Disappeared,
not that. It's just if you look at, again,
like they had a gun camera on the fucking ordnance. Like, when it blew up, the camera terminated.
So let's just get back to the big scheme maneuver here, though.
We used a $2 million rocket when we could have used fucking a link of 50 cal. Or even something off one of the ships could have shot that thing.
We put a bounty on him in order to attempt to get his inner circle to fuck him up. We sent the Mew down there with the destroyers in order to create pressure.
22nd Mew, right?
Yeah. In order to create this is to create pressure, meaning we're going to send these guys down there and we're going to create pressure. Technically, it worked because what did he do? I'm going to mobilize 4 million
civilians,
jungle fighters with machetes, and we're going to fucking stop the Marines. Technically, it worked. the drug interdiction is really the sideshow, right? It's hey, look at me, the president. I blew up this boat.
And
it's a sideshow.
So that
it's got nothing to do with what we It has nothing to do with our goals.
That boat's like a cigarette boat or something,
yeah,
right? That's what it looked like. What's the range on it? Where were they dropping the cargo?
They're probably coming all the way up
From
Venezuela. They're probably coming all the way up. There's probably a stop in one of the Central American countries, and then from there they probably keep going. Or there's probably a stop in one of the Central American companies, and
What happened to all their submarines?
Overland travel to maybe a submarine. Or the problem with submarines, the problem. Submarine is because they're not really submarines. Submarine is a great idea when nobody's looking for you, like when nobody's really looking for you. So like if I'm in a Coast Guard plane and we're just like, hey, let's tool around the Pacific and look for lifeboats. There's probably a good chance that I'm not going to see you. There's probably a good chance that I'm not going to. Ocean's big. The smaller profile you are, the less likely I'm going to be able to spot you because of the horizon. Ocean's big. But if I'm looking for you, their fucking submarines are worthless. It's a big whale's dick that's just fucking moving across because they can't go to depth. So they're not really going underwater. Like, not really. If you're not, I'll bet
They've got to be loud.
I'll bet 100 feet. Well, we're also not dropping sonar buoys looking for these things. But if you're not, I'm guessing 100 feet. Coast Guard guys, you can tell me I'm wrong because I don't know what. But I'm guessing a submarine has to be 100 feet before they can't spot it for air. Like, literally in World War II, there were planes that were just flying around looking, doing this.
Yeah, you can see the bioluminescence.
There's a fucking submarine right there, just looking for submarines. So, the submarine is a waste of time, where you put a lot of time and effort into making this thing that can only do a one-way mission. Where the go fast boats, that's easy. I mean, that's easy. And if I can send 20 boats, and 10 make it or 5 make it, I've still made millions of dollars. So
you think it's about the drugs?
It's worth the hassle. No, I think it's probably a lot of things, but I do believe that Trump's goal is fentanyl, right? It's get fentanyl off the street because 100,000 people died from it.
So did you see China had a big arms parade yesterday, right? Rolled out all their nukes and their whole, military.
Yeah.
And it's a celebration of defeating the Japanese or pushing the Japanese out. Did you see that Putin and Putin's advisors were there, as well as little North Korea Pooh Bear Rocket Man was there? Did you see all that in China yesterday?
No, I didn't see it. I don't care what. I honestly, I don't care what any communist country puts on parade.
They were certainly mad when Trump did it.
I don't care what any communist. Yeah, but it was the Army's birthday. They had actually. It was not only was it the Army's birthday, but it was the Joe Biden administration that approved the Army's birthday parade in Washington, D.C., not Trump. But the problem with on parade is that's all cardboard cutouts anyways. Like, you're not taking an ICBM. You're not taking a real ICBM, putting it on the back of a truck, putting it in a half launch position, and then parading it through fucking downtown Beijing. You're not doing that. That's a fucking cardboard cutout. All of that shit, most of that shit is probably not even real. It's a fucking cardboard cutout. They're not doing it. Just imagine. You only have to have, a lot of times you see those parades and there's like 20 of those trucks or whatever. You only have to have one of those trucks to fuck up to make your capital city no longer viable.
Have you heard that Putin didn't really come to Alaska? Have you heard that?
No, I haven't heard that.
That it's a body double. Putin, having been KGB, is super germaphobe and concerned. Like, if you were going to go have a meeting with Putin, you have to sequester. You have to come into Russia and sequester for 2 weeks to make sure you're not carrying anything that can contagion to him. Have you heard any of that?
I have heard that. But again, if you're Putin, right? Let's just take our liberal sunglasses off and put on Putin's shoes for a minute. I know they're probably too big for you because he wrestles tigers and shit, but if you're Putin, everybody in the world wants to assassinate you, right? So, especially if you're Putin, because you were part of the KGB when the Berlin Wall fell, and you led the FSB after the fact, you know all this shit already. You know that you have a fucking, that you in particular, Putin himself as a leader of the FSB and part of the KGB, you know that you approved the assassination of people with plutonium, who knows what else they fucking have used to kill people, right? So of course you're going to be, I honestly doubt really that he's a germaphobe. He's a, I don't want to get assassinated phobe, right? Again, all I have to, you think of like Ukraine, for example. Let's say Ukraine approves the assassination of, they approve the assassination of Putin, and they have someone that can get close to Putin. Because of the way this war is, and because of the way this is, I can see Brandel being like, "All right, bro, hit me with the smallpox. I'm gonna go shake Putin's hand." Now, that's a possibility, and Putin has to be aware of that possibility, and he has to take the precautions necessary to. Now, do I believe that that he wasn't that it was his body, that it was a body double in Alaska? No, it was him. It was him for sure. People keep forgetting how big Putin's ego is. Like, they forget this is the guy that put a bunch of fucking geese on a goddamn their version of a C-130, flew them halfway across the country. Half of the geese died, so he could get in a fucking monoplane and fly into the geese's homeland with geese flying behind him.
I've never heard this.
Yeah, this is the same guy who did wrestle a fucking tiger. Like, again, his ego is too big. That's kind of the thing that most people forget when they think about world leaders. It's ego. Like, you know, the reason why Trump is successful is because the reason why Trump is successful across the world right now, and all the liberals are fucking biting their fingernails and losing their shit, is because his ego is bigger than everybody else's.
Did you see all the Trump is dead stuff this weekend?
Yeah, I saw that. I mean, come on, guys. You literally had a dead president for 4 years. You didn't say shit. Now all of a sudden you're like, is that a helicopter leaving the White House? It flew towards a hospital. Trump must be dead. It's crazy.
Did you see he replaced Joe Biden's picture with the auto pen?
Oh no! But
Yeah.
did you also see that? Joe Biden, one of the aides testified. One of his aides testified in closed doors hearings that she was using the auto pen for months without Joe Biden's knowledge.
Of them,
So
at the behest of Joe Biden and somebody else.
Democrats have allowed themselves to be sucked down the drain into this abyss that's not real, and what they need to really do is sever their ties with all this nonsense, get back closer to the center, and start helping run this country instead of doing everything they can to destroy it.
So, Black Hawk helicopter that hit the airliner, did you see that today?
No, I haven't seen any of that.
Okay, so all the air traffic and all the telemetry, all this shit has come out, and I think it's the White House put it out, said that it was 100% intentional, and she flew that into them. Somebody was on board with her that said, "Hey, we are changing course. We know this airliner is in our pattern. We are changing course," and then the course was not changed. That it was 100% that she, or at least they are blaming it on her currently. Now, at the same time, they released 30,000 more pages of the Epstein stuff, and the 3 missing minutes has now been found that didn't exist, and you see somebody going into Epstein's area or whatever. So they're releasing all this other shit right now, as that was also simultaneously released.
I think here's the reality. The reality, if we go, first off, let's go to the helicopter thing. It probably was intentional. And the reason why I say it was probably intentional,
DEI.
I don't know if it was a DEI hire, which it probably
Well,
was
they're
because
saying
she was
that
a
it
female. Because she was a female pilot. But the reason why I believe it was intentional, it maybe not. Okay, not intentional as like in a planned thing, but the family stopped notification for 2 days so they could scrub all her media. Now, why would you have to do that? Like, the reality is, if this was just a tragic accident, why would you have to scrub all her media? You'd have to scrub all her media because she was probably saying and doing things that would indicate, just like, let's just talk about the fucking shooter in Minnesota.
Well, we were going to.
YouTube.
We're not there yet.
YouTube. I don't know if you noticed this, but they've started blocking showing protests in England, Australia, and one other country.
Ireland,
I can't think.
Scotland.
They're starting to block it and put an age restriction on it. You didn't block any of the videos of the hate speech that was on those magazines and that individual specifically talking about killing children. You didn't block that. Matter of fact, you didn't even know that happened. Probably because it was a trans channel, so it was okay. You can go on there right now. You can go on TikTok, YouTube, probably Facebook, and you can see people from that side of the community talking openly about killing people.
Yeah, we have more coming, they said.
So again,
it's on Instagram too.
I don't want to hear it when again. Anyways,
so another trans shooter.
Yeah.
Mom or dad have ties to the CIA. That's what the rumor is. Mom has fled. Dad has fled.
No, dad has actually cooperated with the police. Mom has fled. What you're going to see is, again, no matter how you feel about trans issues.
How old is this guy?
He was 23 or 24.
When was the firearm purchased?
I don't know. They haven't really talked about that.
Weird.
But no matter how you feel about the trans issue, okay, if you are someone who feels like you were trapped in the wrong body, that's here. It's in your head.
Yeah, that's a crazy person.
It's here. It's a mental issue, and that person needs constant mental health professionals figuring out what the actual issue is. There's been a couple of studies that have just come out that are finding that maybe these people are actually being coached into something because of other mental health issues that are not being addressed. Whatever. These people need help. They need to be, taken care of just like any other health issue. I don't care if you want to dress up like a woman, and it doesn't matter to me, right? It doesn't matter to me, but it's that influence, that untoward influence that they're putting on people. Now, as this person completely identified in his manifesto that he didn't want to be trans, I think the reason why mom fled, and this is going to be, again, nobody wants to poke at the thing that's real. You're going to find that most of these kids are being coerced by their mothers,
like the Hollywood elites.
Yeah, they're being coerced by their mothers to go down this road,
their new trans puppy,
and do this thing. So that, I guarantee that's why she fled. I also saw something that I haven't confirmed, but if it's true, it's pretty damning, that she's the one that actually drove him to the school.
Oh, so, shit.
Yeah, that could be another reason why she's fled the country. But either way,
has she fled the country?
Well, she's in hiding somewhere, I guess. It's a tragedy on all fronts. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy for the trans community who's just trying to live out there, trying to live their lives and be as normal as they think they can be. It's a tragedy for the school that particular school was identified and hit and children were killed. I'm going to blame the parents. The reality of all these things in our life is we don't hold anybody accountable anymore. We always blame some sort of inanimate object or something that's not real, like some boogeyman over here. It's their fault that this person committed this crime, right? It's their fault. It's not. It can't possibly be my fault that I made bad decisions. And I think that is the biggest. I think that's the biggest dividing line between the left and the right. Is the left does not believe that anybody is responsible for what they do, and the right wants to judge people as individuals and hold them accountable for whatever actions they have, whether it's good or bad.
There's a new bill, which I think is now law in Tennessee, and I'm not sure what all it has to do with it, but it definitely has to do with mass shooters. When they get the mass shooter, they're going to do blood talks and they're going to identify SSRIs that are in the blood, and that's going to be cataloged and discussed, whereas right now it is not. I'm sure somebody has a record of all of it,
Yeah,
but you can never find any compilation of it.
The reality is even that scenario, like even that particular scenario, we already know that these people are on SSRIs and all that, whatever. We already know that these people are taking these things. So, again, from a Democrat point of view, right? From a Democrat point of view, any information gleaned from that, if there's positive information gleaned from that saying that, oh, that's a big problem, again, it'll be the pharmaceutical problem. It won't be the individual who made those choices, because there are thousands of people out there on antidepressants and other type of drugs like that aren't doing the thing that they're doing. So again, it's good information to know, but it also, you have to hold people accountable. You have to hold people accountable. That's all it's about, is you have to hold people accountable for their actions. And just, I don't know, remember that little kid, that little 11-year-old that was robbing CVS's and shit? Do you remember the video? The little kids that are robbing the...
Two kids, little black kids. Yeah. With the mom.
They just rolled her up. They're holding her accountable for the actions of her child, who has already done Grand Theft Auto, breaking and entering in several different establishments. This kid's out of control. Mom won't do anything about it. She should be held responsible.
Yeah, here in this county, if your kid is truant in this county, you go to court.
Well, as it should be. You are responsible for your child until they're 18. But there's certain communities that we don't want to hold accountable because it looks bad or whatever. Fuck that. They need to start holding everybody accountable.
They want those communities doing what they're doing.
This is true. I mean, this is true.
It is by design.
If you think about high crime cities, right? You can, as a Democrat, you can point to you can go, oh, well, those are in red states. They're controlled by Democrats. So the color of the state has nothing to do with the crime that you have, because other cities in that state don't have the same crime problem. They're controlled by Democrats. All that poverty and objective madness is a control measure to ensure that money keeps flowing into those areas and those politicians can keep lining their pockets. Like, if you think about, like, just example would be the war on poverty. The war on poverty, we spent billions and billions of dollars on the war on poverty.
Yeah, but that should have been called the war to continue poverty.
True. That's what I'm saying. Is I think it's, with the new Trump FBI, instead of going after parents in PTAs, they ought to be auditing every NGO in the country.
Well, I think they are.
And finding out who is actually stealing money and who is actually, providing services for those communities. Because, again, the amount of money that's been dumped into Flint, Michigan, every fucking square inch of city piping should be brand new, and they should have the completely newest facilities. But those politicians keep stealing that fucking money.
I think Flint has actually been completed. I think that once Trump got in office, I think that rapidly got done, I believe.
Well, I don't think I'm sure it's not done yet. But again, when you think about Flint, Michigan, and the time and effort and the tax dollars that have gone into Flint, Michigan, everybody should have golden toilets. It's no different than, the amount of money. The reality is the amount of money that was taken in through federal, state, and nonprofits to help the people who were affected in the wildfire. Those houses should already be rebuilt.
Well, no, I mean, look at Gavin Newsom asking for money to continue the railway.
Yeah, they're thieves. They're just thieves. And we need to start auditing everybody. And I don't believe that if your husband is the governor of the state of California, I do not believe that your spouse, don't care, your spouse should not be able to have an NGO, period. Because all he's doing is funneling that money from the state into her pockets and lining the Gavin Newsom pockets. Like, literally, he stole a vineyard through fire aid. He is as crooked as they come, but nobody will audit them. Now, to me, this is me. If nobody is willing to audit NGOs and find out really where these because it's billions of dollars, people, you can't even understand how much money is being stolen. If nobody's willing to audit these NGOs and figure out who is stealing this money, that tells me that both sides are doing it. Like, both sides have to be doing it. I don't, again, nobody's pointed to DeSantos' wife saying that she has these NGOs that collect up all this money, but they both have to be doing it, because otherwise, investigate. Or could it be that it could also be that, Republicans just don't have the starch to do it.
No, they're all
that's
doing it.
That's the kind of thing that, that's one of the things I like about Trump is, for the most part, when he says he's going to do something, he does it. I did see a thing about Department of War. It'd be awesome if they turned it into a department, because that's what it is. It's not defense.
That was the big speculation.
We haven't fought a defensive war since World War II. Anyways, so that's, again, I think this is what I think needs to happen right now. I hope you guys are listening, even though I know you're not listening. What I think needs to happen is the governors of the red states that people keep pointing to as being the most have the highest crime rates or highest murder rates. I think those governors, they need to have a press conference. They need to all get together and have a press conference, and they need to thank Gavin Newsom. They need to be like, Gavin, you are 100% right on this issue. These are in red states. Thank you so much for pointing this out. With the help of the President of the United States, we, as the governors of these states, are going to request the National Guard to go into these blue-held cities and control crime. I think they should just turn it on them. They just need to turn this bullshit on because, again, you have the mayor of Chicago going out and being like,
well, I think they're going into Chicago.
We don't want help. We don't. But, again, the mayor of Chicago, this is that thing. This is kind of like what happened in New York City with the mayor of New York.
Lightfoot looks fucking
The mayor
normal.
of Chicago is out there doing the Democratic tap dance. So he's out there doing the Democratic down hate with Trump.
All major cities have crime.
But secretly, outside of the media headlines, Democrats have been going to Donald Trump from Chicago and been like, bro, send the National Guard. Help us out. Let's clean these streets up a little bit. The reality is there's no reason for the amount, again, the amount of money that taxpayers funnel into law enforcement agencies across the United States. So even Chicago, we're talking billions of dollars. Billions of dollars for Chicago PD to police that area. The amount of money that's being spent, there is not a single reason to send in the National Guard. You have crime in those areas because the people that you have put in power, the legislators that you've put in power, have done everything they can to hamper law enforcement's ability to actually enforce the law. So,
but you've got George Soros prosecutors. You've got George Soros chief of police.
Yeah, again,
that's what the White House was saying. They're going to go after George Soros and his son under RICO and bring him in for influencing those elections.
What they really should do is do what the Department of Justice is for, and they should unleash Pam Bondi on those prosecutors, on those mayors. They should go after the people that are allowing this to happen. Who cares about George Soros? George Soros cannot do a goddamn thing unless those people are willing to go out and execute his plan, or whoever's plan it is. I don't care. They should start going after those people. And if you arrest, imprison, disbar, remove enough people who are committing these crimes against those cities, again, you're gonna, the next prosecutor is going to be like,
she won't go after. They're all corrupt.
I get it, but that's the only way.
That's like Newsom going to fucking Davos. It's like they've got blackmail on all of them, to include Pam Bondi.
And that's why we have to send the National Guard. right? That's why the DC that's why in the District of Columbia you had to use the National Guard, because it's not, okay, all corrupt is an interesting thing.
And apparently,
when you think about Washington D.C., though, you think about the mayor of Washington D.C. and you think about the chief of police of Washington D.C. I don't think, again, I am sure that there is corruption, but I don't think they are corrupt. Like, I don't think they're corrupt. I think the point of the last 8 years has been to hire people who are incompetent and inept so that these things will continue to go on. Because that's the reality. Is every time we have a disaster, every time we have a fire or some sort of disaster, they come out and show how fucking incompetent they are. There's no level playing field, right? There's just no level playing field. All that incompetency needs to be fucking destroyed. If you're I don't care if you're a DEI hire. Go out, work harder, and figure out how to be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
So what's the answer?
I think Trump's doing it. The answer is kill DEI, go back to merit-based, to where the people who are hired are the most qualified. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what flag you fly. If you're the most qualified, then you can be the firefighter. If you're the most qualified, you can be the fire chief. But too many people are being put in this position. It's like the reality is, if you take a look at Democrat cities, I'm sure it goes on in Republican cities too, but probably to a lesser extent. The people who are in charge, the real people in charge, they've been administrators their whole time. The chief of police in D.C. never ever had a gun on her hip, sat in a patrol car, and went out and arrested people.
Probably never been to the academy.
Administrative her entire career. That's bullshit. That is completely 100% bullshit, and we need to kill all that shit. We need to kill it all. Again, I don't care. Merit-based. If somebody is better at the job than I am, I have no problem in being like, yeah, maybe you should fly the plane.
Apparently all the people they're arresting in D.C., the prosecutors and the DAs are just releasing them. They're just letting them out.
They're just letting them out. So, again...
So are they rearresting the same suspects?
They could be rearresting the same suspects, but what they need to be doing is forgetting about the prosecutors in DC, and they need to start charging them with federal crimes and move the venue.
Maybe they are.
I mean, who knows? I don't know. But again, when you hear from the people on the streets, when you hear from the people that this affects, they're happy that it's being done. When you see the protests of the people who are out there protesting this, what's the common denominator? The common denominator is a bunch of white Karens.
Old white people.
It's a bunch of white Karens out there fucking doing Karen shit. What was the rapper that you had here that first time? That rapper, and the girls were...
Little White?
Was it Little White? What did he say on the stage?
Come get your bitch.
That's what needs to happen. Trump needs to be like, get your bitch, get your bitch, get your bitch. We need these, because again, it seems to be whenever we have some sort of major crisis in the United States, whatever it is, whatever the talking point is of the day, it's fucking Karens. It's just Karens. It's constant Karens.
Yeah, it's rich fucking wine moms.
It's just constant Karens. We need to get them. I don't know. They need to open more Starbucks, maybe some more Build-A-Bears, or whatever it takes to get these Karens back in line with reality instead of this fantasy world where they live in.
So what do you think happens between now and next week?
Nothing. Same shit.
Nothing happens.
I mean,
another school shooter somewhere.
And the next week?
Another tranny Todd?
No, I don't think so.
They won't roll that out. They'll save that one. They need you to look at something instead.
Again,
I think they put the key in the back and wind them up and put them in motion.
No, I don't believe. Again, to a certain extent, the assassination of President Trump, the attempted assassination of President Trump was a little bit different. Both of those are completely not part of the script. But when it comes to the trans community, when it comes to these trans shooters, I don't believe that it is this is Project Ultra or anything like that. You have people going through the most hormonal time in their life. So whether you're male or female, you're going through the most hormonal time in your life. And you have adults who should know better, who are prescribing you drugs that are attempting to keep your body from doing the thing that your body wants to do. Your body is programmed to do. They're giving you all these drugs. So now no matter what, you're going to have feelings of despair and all kinds of shit because you're taking drugs to keep your body from doing the thing that your body wants to do. So you're taking these drugs. So what's going to happen? Your Karen mom is going to take you in, and somebody's going to prescribe you more drugs to help with your emotional state. Your emotional state has to be going up and down, because especially if you think about kids.
But who sets them in the direction of killing children in a church?
John, every single one of the drugs that they prescribe to that community, not necessarily that community, but every single one of those drugs, especially when you talk about antidepressants, even the puberty blockers, every single one of them, suicide thoughts, suicide adulation, those are just side effects. Those are side effects. And so again, when you are young, when you are very young, and you have these feelings of suicide and helplessness, and you don't understand why you're having them, because your life should be perfect, because your mom is helping you transition to a girl. How could you even possibly think that that's the right thing? But again, you think that your life is going to be perfect. You find out that life is just life. It's hard. It doesn't matter. Girl, boy, trans, homosexual, it doesn't matter. Life's just hard. And now you're taking prescription drugs that make you feel suicidal. You haven't lived long enough on this planet. You haven't lived long enough on this planet to make a difference. And so that's why they all want to go out. They all want to go out and make a TikTok version of themselves. The goal is to go out and have people remember your existence on this planet, whether that's good or bad, right? They don't care. They just want people to remember that they were here. And so that is why they attack these low-hanging fruits, going after schools or churches, because they want people to remember that they were here.
I saw a lot of people say we knew more about this kid within 20 seconds of the shooting than we still know about the Trump shooting, Thomas Crooks.
Well, I think the difference. Is there's a difference here.
One was a patsy.
No, there's a difference here. Trump was not president. Trump was not president when Crooks attempted to assassinate him, right?
He's president now.
Again, Trump was not president when Crooks, when that assassination attempt happened. Way before Trump, right in the middle of the war on terror with the Obama administration, there was a standing order for the FBI and all law enforcement agencies. There were certain criteria that could not be discussed. So certain criteria during those years that could not be discussed. You weren't allowed to leak any information that linked any shooters to Muslim affiliation. You weren't allowed to leak any information that was related to the LGBTQ community. That's why when you think about all those years, we don't know a lot about those people. You think about the two terrorists that fucking shot up San Bernardino. We don't know shit about them because they were Muslims. So the FBI was ordered to keep all that shit in-house. Crooks is the same thing. Remember, Donald Trump did not control that FBI. They were ordered to keep all that shit in-house. Even though Donald Trump's president, the access to said information is not as easy as we believe. We believe that because he's the president of the United States, he just goes, "Go give me the file, Brandel. Go get the file, Brandel." We believe that's the case. But remember, we're talking about layers of government. In all those situations, whether it's Jeffrey Epstein or whatever, there's a motherfucker that goes, we don't have that file. It's in a different font. I'm going to need to change the font to the... at every level because they don't want that shit exposed. They don't want to be exposed that they've been hiding information from the American public all this time. That's why the Epstein files are taking so long. That's why we don't know anything about crooks. And I kind of think that Trump, from just because of who he is, I kind of think Trump doesn't give a shit. Like I don't believe that Trump was like, hey, go down to the basement and see what you can find out about. I bet it hasn't even crossed his fucking mind, because unlike past presidents, Trump has an idea of what he wants to do for America, whether you like it or not. He's focused on America. He's not focused on any other bullshit. He's not. Again, you can't point to a single thing where he's funneling money to his family, funneling money through different organizations, becoming richer. He lost money the last time he was president. No president has ever left office and not been 10 times richer than he was when he went into office. That's what we should be asking ourselves. Why is Obama a fucking millionaire? Why is he a millionaire? What did he do in office that allowed him to become a millionaire? He only got 134,000, or is it 134,000 or 300,000? I don't know. He didn't get enough money to become a millionaire. That's all payoff. That's all grift. Every single bit of it. Trump doesn't do that, which is, again, crazy. But I think, he's trying to build a legacy, and maybe he's trying to build a legacy for his family, and he wants the Trumps to rule the world who cares? As long as he's doing what's right for America. This whole fucking one world government world bullshit it's tired, it's old, and it's falling apart everywhere. We need to take our country back as Americans, and Donald Trump is helping us do it. The problem is we've allowed so much rot to fill our government agencies that it's hard to do. That's why the reality is I should be able to call the chief of police in Chicago and be like, Bob, what's going on down there? What kind of help do you need? Do you need help? And him be honest with the president of the United States and go, you know what, sir? There's a few loopholes and a few things going on here in Chicago that's making it hard for us to do this certain thing. If the federal government could do this, we could make more arrests. But they can't. He can't do that. So it's easier for him to just go, send in the guard, because he's commander in chief and he can do that. So again, the left, the far left, has created such a mess in that political side of the house that it's still even hard for the president of the United States. I guarantee they just had a CIA chief. They just had a CIA chief go on to when Donald Trump was running the first time. Okay, so just think about this. He was running the first time. That the CIA chief who was in charge during that time period go on CNN and tell them when they were briefing the future president of the United States, they lied to him. They didn't tell him everything because they didn't think he was going to get elected. He specifically said, you don't have to tell him the truth. That is the kind of fucking government we're working with. We're working with a bunch of crazy fucking liberals who don't understand the ramifications of lying to the president of the United States. They're willing to do it. They're willing to lie in order to save some sanctimonial high ground that they don't have. So it's a fucking soup sandwich. Yeah, I don't think Trump is in the White House going, bring me the files. I don't care about the files. What I want to do is make America great. But getting back to what you said about the trans shooter, we got a new FBI. We do have a new FBI. We do have a new head of FBI, and I'll bet the mandate in there is truth. Just put out the truth, and that's why we know so much about this kid in Minnesota. If you kind of pay attention over the course of this Trump presidency, whenever we do have something that is, terrible that happens, each time we get more and more information because the requirement is transparency. Be transparent in how you do all this stuff. So the requirement is transparency, and I think that's a good thing. We can't, by hiding the reality of the world, we can't become better. No different than getting rid of words. You're not better by getting rid of words. You're worse.
You ready to do some Q&A?
Not really, but we can do it.
All We'll see you guys next week. What episode was this?
132.
Pulling Thread Podcast, episode 132.
That is 100% bullshit, guys. Go on the internets and look. We did 132 last week.
How old are you?
27.
How old were you when you started working?
12, 13.
And what was that job?
Started out doing what I'm doing currently, cutting
Material within the company SOE.
Yeah, cutting
and
material.
And then you've had other jobs. When did you have a job outside of SOE? How old were you?
19.
And then all through elementary school, junior high, high school, as long as you were with me,
Full time.
you had a job.
Yeah.
Working 40 or more hours a week.
Yeah, full time.
When you left and had your first job outside of SOE, what was that job?
I was at I call it a fab shop. It wasn't a full fab shop, but we were laser cutting and CNC brake bending metal parts.
How did you get that job? What qualified you for that job?
Machining background is what got me through the door.
How did you get a machining background?
Started in high school by accident. Learned how to do it because it interested me. I went and competed at the state level, placed third in the state of Tennessee in high school, and then moved on and continued that to college.
And that's TCAP?
TCAT, yeah.
TCAT.
Tennessee College of Applied Technology is where I went.
But that starts in high school?
Not necessarily. I was lucky enough that my high school had equipment and a program, and I just continued on from there.
But they are not part of TCAT?
No.
Okay, I didn't know that.
No, so the tech school at our high school is its own entity.
So you just had shop, basically.
Yes.
So we had shop in San Diego, and most of that is all gone now. But we had an auto shop. We had silk screening and printing, etching glass, stuff like that. Wood shop. Even in, if I go back to junior high school, even in 8th, 9th, 10th grade, we had a wood shop. There was a metal shop there, though I don't remember ever seeing a metal shop, but I know kids learned to weld. We had like a home ec, which I took the home ec, but I remember making cinnamon rolls, which were absolutely terrible. But I don't remember learning anything else. Like there were sewing machines there, but I had never seen a sewing machine run. And those were home machines, right? It was just, hey, this is
Light
how
duty.
you mend a sock. And,
Yeah.
you know, home chores that you would do that, you know, grandma used to do on a regular basis.
Put a patch in your pants, hem your...
Yeah. So at 19, you got a first job outside of here. How long did that last?
I was there for about 2 years.
And
2
then-
years seems to be my magic number for some reason.
And then from there, where did you go?
I was back here at that point. And then from there, I worked in service as far as like plumbing, electric, HVAC. That was 2 years ago.
How long did you do that for?
Not very long.
How did you know how to do those things?
I didn't.
Okay.
I just knew the right people and can figure things out along the way.
And they just gave you a job and
Yeah,
you just went.
said the right words, went and did the work. Nobody was ever unhappy with the work.
From there, where did you go?
From there, I went to the place that I was for the last 2 years, and that was an aluminum mill. And I had a specialty job within that plant, grinding the rolls for the mill and casters.
And then from there, where did you go?
Here.
How long have you ever, I would say your adult life, but how long have you ever been without a job in your life?
I think the longest amount of time I spent without it, and that was just because I had the money to be able to find whatever I was looking for, was 3 weeks tops. But that was like, I've got the money, let me figure out what's next.
What did you do for the 3 weeks?
Looked for jobs and figured out what I was doing.
And then you lived.
But that was while I was still, like, I had stopped driving to Jackson to do service work.
Which is an hour drive.
Yeah, and I mean, depending on traffic, I might have an hour one way. So I was driving from Big Sandy to Jackson every single day, and I think I made $17 an hour doing that, which is nothing when you're driving that far.
Who told you that you had to go to work?
I don't know that ever came up. I think it was just that's what you guys were doing, and I'd been around it, and that was normal.
Did you live when you were without a job? Did you live with us?
Mm-mm.
Where did you live?
I don't remember exactly where I was at the time.
But you had a house or an apartment or something?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't just in my truck or anything.
Have you ever lived in an apartment?
No.
You've always lived in a house?
Yeah.
When you were
I
here?
do not want to live in an apartment.
Okay,
I like
so
privacy.
How, at 19 to 20, 21 years of age, How are you able to have a house that you live in? How are you able to afford that?
I just worked a lot. I mean, 40 hours was never a normal week for me. I was always working 50, 60, 80, whatever it was.
Was the house in your name?
As far as renting goes, yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, split it.
Did you
I
have
had
roommates?
one roommate at one point. There was a point in time where I was renting a house with 2 other people, and you've got 2 buddies and they've got girlfriends, and now there's 6 people at this damn house. I left at that point. I didn't want to do that.
That place was a fucking wreck.
Yeah.
Like when I'd go to find you.
No, that's not the place I'm talking about.
There was
that
even
was a different place.
Like furniture was outside. This dude had bought a house and decided he was going to redo the floors. So he ripped the entire floor out and was redoing the entire floors just in 2x4s. Pressure treated 2x4s.
And the house was like 100 years old.
Not framing it. Literally 2x4s touching
down.
each other side to side to side with just like a 12-foot span, just 2x4s.
Yeah, that dude, he's something else.
Yeah, that dude's a wreck. I see him at and it took me a while to realize who he was. When we go to Lowe's, he's like, "Hey, how you doing? How's business?" And
does he work at Lowe's or something?
Yeah, he's the dude at Lowe's.
I didn't know
in
that.
In like the job section at the register.
That's the most steady thing he's ever done.
And we've seen him several times. Brandel even saw him when we went to pick up soil and stuff for the tortoises.
Yeah.
We had seen him. So my point to all of this, and some of this I didn't even know, but my point to asking this is I run ads on the local Facebook group pretty regularly, every couple months. And 1 or 2 show up. We always hire the very first ones. Mm-hmm. And then 8 to 10 show up within a couple days that are way better candidates, but we've already got somebody.
Yeah.
So lately, a lady, I had made a post, and I'm like, hey, this job starts at $10 an hour. Pay is based on your performance. And you get all these little ninnies in there that are like, well, what's the pay if it's based on your performance? Well, and I even said the minimum pay is $10.
Yeah.
So a reasonable,
how accurate can you be?
And a reasonable person would conclude that $10 and it goes up from $10. But they always want to nitpick, and they don't want the job. They just want to talk shit. So some lady got on there, a local lady, I believe, and she said $10 is a good pay for this job. It's a very easy job. And this young guy, he's probably 21 to 25, says $10 isn't shit. $10 is $335 a week, and then you got to pay taxes, and it's $1,200 a month, and the cheapest rent around here is $1,000 to $1,500. So how are you supposed to live? You have to have a what do they call it? A living wage. This job's not even a living wage. Well, neither is Starbucks. Those aren't adult jobs. Those are child's jobs, or low skill level. I don't want to say low IQ, because we've had some fucking brilliant people do those jobs, and I'm like, why are you doing this job? Yeah. And we've had fully adult, 40-year-old, fully capable that have already like retired from the military and just have a retirement pay, and they just need someplace to be. We had a dude came in here that was he was a pretty decent dude. Like I actually loved having conversations with him, and the day he came in, he's like, I'm here to get this job. And the dude was probably like 55 years old, 60. And I'm like, dude, you're going to hate this job. He's like, man, I just need to be out of the house, and I'm working at Burger King, and I cannot work with these teenagers any longer.
Yeah.
Please give me this job. And he lasted a year, maybe 2 years even. I don't know how long he lasted. He was
between 1 and 2 for sure.
He was too smart to do this job here, right? He had other things, real big ideas.
Yeah.
And our shop runs very well the way it runs, and he's wanting to put all these things into place, but we don't have the infrastructure or the man to chain of command to do it, right?
Yep.
So anyways, the kid kept going on, and I'm like, look, you don't get to own a house at 25. You don't have work-life balance. You work your ass off from 20 to 30, and really the truth is you work your ass off from 15 to 30, and
or longer.
And you put in 60 to 80 hour week, or you put in your 40 and then you work another 40 at your own thing. And then from 30 you have downflow, right? You have downstream, whether it's like, I don't want to sound multi-level marketing, but you have people who know how to do this that you oversee, and then the business kind of runs. But as you've seen, and most of it's my lack of management skill and lack of putting people in place that can manage the business, but the business doesn't really run when I'm not present.
Correct.
Like today.
Well, and there's more to it than just that, because I was having a conversation last night. Somebody who's running their own, it's a house cleaning business. Brought in a friend, somebody she knew. Hey, this
Terrible
is what
idea.
you need to do, top down. Here's exactly what I expect. Didn't happen.
No, it won't ever happen.
Yeah.
If you want to talk house cleaning, Dawn Gorham, they clean like multi-million-dollar estates, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dawn Gorham's daughter, and I don't think she's around anymore because she married a military guy, and I think they got stationed somewhere else. But she ran a hugely successful, I mean, massively successful business, and she would bring in employees, but always had a problem with the employees, so much so that her mother came in, Dawn, and anything Dawn does is going to be fucking spot on.
Yeah.
And they would go knock these houses out, but it would take an entire day, and most of these houses weren't even lived in. They're just massive estates.
Just maintain them.
Uh-huh. And like that's who I would talk to if I wanted to run a business like that.
Yeah.
But like that's what I was telling this kid. He's like, well, how is anybody ever going to own a house? Well, they don't realize they're not ever going to own a house.
That opportunity is going away.
Yeah, BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, they're buying all the real estate, right? They're buying all the residential. They're buying entire construction projects of neighborhoods so that they can rent that shit out. And you have states passing laws to prevent that from happening. That type of, I guess I don't know if you call it arbitrage, but like they're making it so that can't happen as much. But it's still happening. Like your 15-minute city bullshit and all that stuff. They will never own anything. But the real answer is, especially at 20 years of age, 25, whatever, you work 80 hours a week.
Yeah, one job's not enough. 40 hours a week is your bare minimum at best, and that's depending on how much you're making.
Yeah, and he's got a girlfriend. He's got a cute little girlfriend. And the real answer is they both work 2 jobs.
Yeah.
She works 2 jobs.
Absolutely.
And then that house they're renting, they don't live in the master bedroom. They live in the spare bedroom, and then they rent the master bedroom out.
Yeah.
And then you rent a spot on the couch to somebody else also, and it fucking sucks.
It does, absolutely.
It fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But if you can maintain that. And people, like I was saying this on the live the other night, and somebody, and I always take it the wrong way. I'm not always going to go straight to 100% asshole, but he's like, well, where does family fit in? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like when I came home from prison, Amanda and myself and 3 kids lived in my 1 bedroom that I went to high school in on 1 bed. No air conditioning in the house. Now, granted, it's California. It wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
I'd never lived in a house with air conditioning until we moved here.
Yeah.
I don't know that I even had a truck that had air conditioning that worked until
the F-250.
Yeah, that was the first one.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, how do you have kids? Motherfucker, we had 5 kids.
Yeah, you figure it out.
We had 5 kids. 3 of us lived in 1 room with 1 bed. That was the answer. When the kids came home from school, Amanda would pick them up. They would sleep, like Sebastian used to sleep on a sleeping bag underneath the cut table where Amanda cut after Heather had already gone home for the day.
Yeah.
And that's just the deal. People think it's so difficult right now, but they've never experienced difficulty. None of these kids have calluses on their hands. There's no scars on their hands. They haven't been pushed down. They've not skinned their knee. They haven't like jumped a BMX bike over 6 trash cans and your asshole friend puts snails there and you worry about it and you crash. Like they don't have any of that. They've been so coddled, and they think that their life is hard because they can't get something that they've never even had. They've never experienced it.
The perception is very skewed.
Yeah, like I don't know how much you remember of the house. Like when I came home from prison, went back to Mom's house, that's the house I grew up in.
Yep.
From 3rd grade until that time. That's the house Mom had. And it was a middle income, it was a nice neighborhood, and it's not a bad neighborhood now. But Mom worked 3 jobs.
Yeah.
Mom had a full-time job at General Dynamics, which was 40 to 50 hours a week. Mom worked damn near full-time. Well, it couldn't be full-time, but worked 5 days a week at a clothing store in the mall. and then did another store in a different shopping mall
On the
on
weekends.
Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. And still drove an old Cherokee. Wasn't anything fancy.
It was
no
a
brand new
S10.
car.
Originally, it was an old S10 Chevy Blazer, a little one.
So I don't remember that one. I just remember, and like she always had the anti-theft
Mm-hmm.
bar she would put up, and that was a manual, wasn't it?
It was a manual.
Yeah.
Every car I remember, mom had mom and dad had a Pontiac Grand Prix, and that was a massive car. It had this big like rubber nose, and it was painted like had red, white, and blue pinstripes, and it had a big V8 in there or something.
Back in the golden days.
Yeah. The car was metal. It was all made
Yeah.
of metal, and it's just wild, man. But even then, like we have this idea, or these kids, and I don't know what these kids really think. I just hear them talk, and they think that their parents had it so easy, and because the income's been ruined and the value of the dollar, and of course there's a lot of that. But even back then, mom still worked 3 fucking jobs.
Yeah. Work ethic's gone downhill. People actually wanting to do what it takes to get what they want doesn't exist much more.
How old were you when you had your first job?
14.
What was it?
13. Cleaning aquariums.
Who was that? Who was that for?
Just a random guy we met at a hospital.
Guy at a hospital had you come clean it. How often did you clean aquariums?
3 days a week.
And how old were you?
13.
Man, I would think somebody's trying to abduct my kid if that was the case nowadays, you know?
Yeah, these days.
There were 6 of us. There were 6 kids that we were all out skateboarding, so that was the offer. He didn't want to do it. He was an old dude. And he just said, well, the stuff is under every aquarium. Here's all the aquariums. Sign the login sheet. Bring it to me once a month.
And what kind of fish did you get bit by?
Lionfish is what stung me.
Is that at this job?
Yeah.
Now, the lionfish is the big venomous barbs. That's fucking wild.
Super cool.
That is.
And the tanks are still there, and his son owns the company. They're still all there.
And it's a hospital or a doctor's office?
There's multiple all over our town and county, but we started at the hospital because they had 6 tanks there. So that was easy for us to kind of spend an hour on each tank for one day. And then once we proved we could do it, it was the other ones at the other hospitals and different areas.
I think you could go as a business to pet shops and clean their aquarium because they do a terrible job, most of them, of cleaning. Like Aquatic Critter in Nashville, beautiful aquariums, like just beautiful. I love going in there and talking because you find the dude that really knows fish. Some of them just work there, but you talk to that dude, and those cages are really nice. And I'm like, man, I would love to have a saltwater tank. I just don't want to maintain it. They're like, well, we'll come do it. I'm like, I live 2 hours away. Like, it's not doable.
Do they have a caiman when you walk in, or what is that?
They used to have a caiman. There is no caiman there any
Oh,
longer.
okay.
There's like turtles in that little
I
pond.
remember walking in there when I was a kid, and there was always one on the right when you walked in that big area.
Yeah,
I hope we see one Saturday.
he's hoping to get a caiman.
It's like a puppy.
There's no
Yeah, it's like a
reason for it.
puppy. But you always see them dudes getting fucking bit by. I have a scar.
No, I want you to get the caiman.
I have
don't
a scar from a caiman. When I worked at Claremont Tropical Fish Store, a little caiman bit me on my pinky finger. And that's my last interaction with caiman. They have very sharp teeth, and it was little.